have a look at Bwindi, because this was, I mean, I really wanted Johnny's opinion on this, because at the moment all we have is visual of what we can see, so all we can do is guess. Look, this is what I think Johnny would say. First time on fibre sand. Horse was never really travelling. On the left here, we're looking at the blue with the red, and it's Kieren Fallon on board, riding for Johnny Murtu. Had these two horses at Southwell, and the first one was ridden by the apprentice, Russ Stokely. This one had Fallon on board.
13 to 8 on.
13 to 8 on, having been 6 to 1 overnight, I think. Anyway, it was fairly evident early on that this horse wasn't going like an odds-on shot.
Look at Fallon. Fallon's doing his best here, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's pushing it along.
The horse is being niggled.
Yeah.
So, as I say, all we can guess is what Johnny and Kieren would say. So at the moment you could fairly obviously argue that the horse isn't facing the kickback because the horse's head is on one side, and at the moment he goes out of picture. You can see Kieren niggling on the outside. It looks as though he is trying to keep the horse out of the kickback out wide. I think you could say that. But as they turn this bend, and I think this is turning out of the back straight into the home straight, as they do that, it appears that Kieren accepts that the horse isn't going to win. That's what it appears from body language. And again, we're only outsiders looking in.
But he's still pushing away.
Watched every single horse race since about 1983.
He's trying to make it go faster, isn't he? Kieren's trying to get the horse to pick up and to move forward.
Well, the horse is moving slightly forward now, but it becomes very obvious. And Julian, I mean, you've watched, you're a good race reader, you've watched a lot of races. I think most people at this stage, when the horse comes back into picture, thinks, actually, we're still... Hold on, what's this?
Coming down towards the straight.
Right, this is still going down the back straight. Apologies. So that was the first bend, and we're coming down the back straight. The horse has gone back in a little bit more behind the kickback. There's not a lot of kickback there. And to be fair, I think Kieren's going OK there. I don't think you'd be too worried at this stage.
His arms are moving, isn't it? It isn't as though he's easing the horse.
And we know Kieren rows along.
Look at it. Yes, of course he's doing it.
But this is the crucial stage. He pulls it out of the kickback, presumably because he thinks, I'm going to move forward now.
Well, he's got closer to the horse
just
now,
there,
so the kickback is actually going to start coming back into play, isn't it?
But my reading of it now, Kieren's given up there. That's not Kieren rowing. That's Kieren deciding this horse is going to drop out the TV screen. Now, when I say deciding, the horse presumably is giving him the signs that it's not going to pick up. Because round this bend, I think anyone who's watched a horse race would say that is a jockey who's about to pull up. I thought he was about to pull up here. Honestly, 4 out, I thought he's going to pull up. And at this stage, the horse is clearly not passing the third horse. The whip comes out and it goes further
I don't see what more. I don't see what more.
But this is the interesting fact. So in a minute, Kieren sits up.
Yeah.
In a minute, he sits.
That's where he gives up.
No. He's still nudging now. But you watch him turning in. 3 furlong pole, the camera angle change. Just in a moment, he sits up. Just there.
Yeah.
He's basically stopped riding.
Yeah.
There. Definitely sits up for a stride tour. And then the leaders presumably stop.
That's what's happening.
This horse.
Yes.
And there are horses who do pick up once you stop riding them. Weirdly.
Well, I don't think he's picking up so much as the other ones are stopping, aren't they? The other ones are almost to a walk.
But now it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Because presumably Bwindi's got 1 million in running.
Yeah.
Now it's, oh my goodness, it's 1 billion in running. Now it's 100 to 1 running. Now it's 50s in running.
Yeah.
And now the Fallon drive is out. It's 33s, it's 20s. Oh my God, we're going to pay out at 1 billion to 1.
Yeah.
But doesn't quite get... Actually, the other horse picks up. Because I think Bwindi would have gone past with the momentum, but the other horse, you see, picks up again when Bwindi comes to it. But that is one of the strangest races you'll ever watch.
But I cannot blame Kieren Fallon. I'm not his greatest supporter, but in that case, I don't see what more he could have done. It was the other horses stopping. They were virtually walking the other... That's why we should have split times. Now, I'm not a great understanding of sectional times and that thing, but wouldn't that have been fascinating in that race to see what the sectionals were for those last 3 furlongs?
Can I just say one thing that I thought was wrong about that? And I think the BHA and the stewards on track, I mean, despair. I just totally despair stewards anyway, but despair of this set of stewards on that day. The BHA print stewards' inquiries sheets, yeah? So if they'd asked any questions about that, we'd have the printout. We got a printout. They banned Fallon 4 days for excessive use of the whip. Inside that, they got a 4-day ban for that. But in the talk, there was no mention at all of what happened all the way round. All they did was put out a sheet saying Kieren Fallon's been banned 4 days for the ride on Bwindi. I mean, I find that extraordinary.
It's a 13 to 8 on chance.
Surely you say, well, Kieren, what was happening around that home bend, by the way? What was going on there? You know, and he says the horse wouldn't face the kickback. The public know, and whether you believe it or not, at least you have, at the moment, no one's spoken to Kieren Fallon about Bwindi. No one's spoken to Johnny Murtu because we've tried and he doesn't want to come on. So no one knows what the professionals think.
But it's very hard looking at that evidence to put any blame on Fallon for that. if you had backed the horse and everything like that,
I mean,
where
Big
would
Mac,
you...
you may say that, and because it's fine for sand, I would agree with you. But there will be people who back Bwindi who think you are making the most ridiculous statement on earth. They won't believe anything you're saying. They'll be saying, that was not right. That's what they'll say.
Well, if they see the race, they go through it as we went through it, and the efforts that Fallon made, I don't see how they can possibly
But the stewards
say...
could have placated all of this by asking for an explanation. We could have had a detailed analysis of that race from Kieren Fallon, printed out, and we could be reading it out now. As it is, we've got a 4-day whip ban.
I know what we'll have, the Weekender column. Kieren writes in the Weekender, the editor of the Weekender should get onto him. Let's have the inside story of Bwindi in your Weekender column next Wednesday.
I've had the exclusive on Sunday Forum myself.
Yeah, well, yeah, but let's have it in his Weekender column. Let's see exactly what let him put his own case in the defence. And
What do you think, Julian? You haven't really given us what do you? I mean, it was strange to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I think the kickback issue is certainly one thing. You know, he moved back inside halfway through the race, but he was so far behind at that point, the kickback wouldn't have been reaching him, I don't think. The horse was definitely running with its head to one side, as you mentioned. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, he got a whip ban at the end of that race, you know. And it was curious the way the race unfolded, because, as you said, Matt, I think when we were talking about it, it looked at one point as if he was going to pull the horse up.
Yeah. But maybe he thought he was.
Yes, yeah.
Because horses are... We know that it's not an exact science, as Bruff Scott would tell you time and time again. You know, it's
these
not
are bad
an exact
horses
science.
as well, you know.
I can see why, because I watched it with you, and we had 3 or 4 other meetings
on the night,
and you had no time, and you explained that and everything like that. And not understand why on the APPs and the machines, why people are getting absolutely het up about it.
The APPs?
Well, whatever they are, I don't know. This
Apps.
Yeah, whatever it is. So people were getting het up. People were getting het up about it. You can see why. But if you study it and be objective, I don't see how you can blame it. And as you say, he gets a 4-day whip ban, apparently on a non-trial, according to some pundits. Well,
there you go. I mean,
you know, well, we won't come.
Always can add to the conspiracy if you want it.
Well, we won't come to the whip, for goodness' sake. But it is the kind of thing that it gets people going. It got you really worked up in the studio.
The whole thing is ridiculous. Yeah. We got everything was wrong. Firstly, there's absolutely no way any sensible person could have given anyone a 4-day whip ban for that. It was ridiculous. And secondly, we didn't get there, so we got exactly the opposite to what we wanted. We got typical British racing. Let's go for a break.